in 45 seconds, all your life can change. And actually what is important to do that, because sometimes we are running so much in our life, we want to do everything, but 1 second actually can change everything and can collapse and can build.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Leumitech, sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest Labs, Synergy Global, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, Birthright Excel, Serona Partners, and in media partnership with CTech. Hello, and welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. We have an extraordinary story today with us. Please meet Lisya Bahar Manoah, senior partner at Catalyst Fund since 2019. Lisya holds over 15 years of investment and management experience in private equity and global leading corporations, in particular in the context of M&A transactions, post-merger integration, and raising capital. Lisya has previously led the operational due diligence for the acquisition of Keter Group by BC Partners and managed post-acquisition integration. Prior to Keter, Lisya held management positions in one of the world's leading crop protection companies, ADAMA, and at Magna Steyr BMW. Lisya has a multicultural background, speaking fluent German, Turkish, English, and Hebrew. She earned an MBA from Tel Aviv University, M.Sc. from Vienna University of Technology, and Harvard Executive. Lisya Bahar Manoah, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Thank you very much. Hi, Michael. Thank you very much for having me. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm really excited for these 20 minutes talking about, your work and most importantly, your journey. Very non-traditional journey, very different from that of, I guess, pretty much every guest I've had on the show. And so I want to start there. And I want to understand a little bit better, who you are. Today, obviously, you're an integral part of the Israel ecosystem and the investment ecosystem with Catalyst, sitting on the board and supporting some of the most phenomenal companies in the Israel ecosystem. But we'll get to that. I want to start a little bit about where you're from. And so share with me a little bit about, your upbringing and the way you eventually got into tech.
Okay, let's do it. I think for me, at least, it all comes back to where we begin from. And indeed, it is true. I had an atypical childhood. I am born in a small island in Istanbul, in Turkey. Grew up with 4 generations in a Jewish family. And my families were educational freaks. So I went from a childhood to German schools. Practically at the age of 17, decided to go there to Austria and to study mechanical engineering. And after 1 year studying the mechanical engineering with 500 people, over 500 people, so I remember that the day that I was calling my family, take me back. I can't do it anymore. That's it. I tried, but I'm failing. And I will never forget, my family told me that, listen, Lisya, but you got the internship in BMW. Don't reject. But even if you are rejecting, go there and tell that face to face that you cannot work there. So practically I packed my bag. I went to Graz and went into the factory. That was the biggest factory that I saw that in my life at that time.
Wow.
So I entered into the door and it was a wrong door. It was general management rooms, which I was not aware at the age of 17 and a half. So, and I just went in and I said that, listen, I am very grateful. I'm thankful, but I cannot do that, the internship. Thank you very much. I'm going back to my country. And he told me, first, I believe that you are in a wrong room. And second, I never took that any intern in my life, but you will stay and you will be my intern. And you will enjoy it. And it was the game changing in my life. I stayed 9 years there. Long story short. Yes. And I called back my family and I said that, stop, I'm not relocating to Turkey. I am, staying in Austria, in Vienna, Graz, Munich. I was there in 3 cities. And and I live by myself 9 years, working in a mechanical engineer, and where no one was even talking that about the recycling. It was 15 years ago. It was my master thesis. It was about biodegradable materials in the automotive industry. It's funny today that we are talking that everything needs to be that recycled, and we are investing that in the everything which is related to the recycling and sustainability. But yes, it was a great journey. And 11 years ago, I moved to Israel, and that's another journey in my life.
What was it in that moment that you go there to tell them that you're not taking the internship? If you look back really at sort of this interaction that you've had with your future boss, what was it that really made him, you know, both
Uh,
want you to stay and convince you to stay?
Actually, I asked that this question because up to that moment, I didn't know that the meaning of the board meetings and the age of the 17 and a half, where you are learning that the first degree, the first year of your school, you don't yet to know that the big words that and what are they doing and everything. And literally it was taking me that everywhere, to each meetings, to all the suppliers, to the negotiations and to everything. And when I asked that later on, couple years later, what was the interest that he took me that as an intern, he said he really appreciated that I moved all the way 3 hours. I took it, and I didn't just send an email to send it. Thank you very much. You have selected out of all students only me, but I cannot come. No, you came and you told me that face to face. And this is the best behavioral attitude that you can do that to any person in your life, and we appreciate. And that was the reason actually he took me.
Wow.
And he
And
taught me that the mechanical engineering, including everyone in the group.
and why did you spend those 3 hours going there and telling them in person when you could have, called them?
You know, that's also a great question. In Turkey, I lived in Turkey, born in Turkey, in Istanbul, and I'm in. My whole family is very young, so I grew up with 4 generations, and literally I saw that mother of my grandmother. So we were all together in the family. And one beautiful thing that I learned, from many things I learned, but many values that you are learning, is that respect, and respect to each other, to elder generations and also to younger generations, how to speak and have to give that respect to the elder one or to the younger one, even if you do not agree that with their opinion, to show that the empathy, to look that from their point of view. No, it's all the time. It was like injected in my blood because uh, grew up with all of them together, and it was very important. And still today, I'm grateful that they taught me that these important values like respect and be able to do that empathy to each other. And that was
Wow.
the reason I went all the way. Today is that 3 hours is nothing, but at that time that, it was that more simple for a younger person to take the flight, come back to the family where you were living alone and there was no WhatsApp, no Skype and no nothing, no Zoom. So yes.
Now, if we go just to before that, just a bit, because I want to make sure I understand, part of your upbringing and sort of this special circumstance was also diverting from the traditional path, perhaps that one would assume. You went to you went to a different type of school, right, where you had a nun and primarily Muslim. What was sort of the reasoning behind, because you did grow up in a Jewish household, right?
Yes, I'm Jewish. I grew up in a Jewish household, in a Zionist household, actually, and I was Madrika. I was teaching. I was very, very active in the Jewish organizations from the very young age. And you are right. Turkey is that today the majority, over 90%, is the Muslim culture. And yet, indeed, everything, my family was educational freak. So they didn't decide to send me to send to a Jewish school. Maybe it was the typical situation at that day. So they wanted that I'm taking one of the best education. And at that time that the German schools were giving that very good education, that bilingual with German and with French and English. So after doing that many psychometry tests, so I entered inside. But the short story in cut, the diversity and the different religions is that part of me that from a very, very young childhood. So I knew that what is Christmas and how to celebrate Easter or to make that, to celebrate the Jewish holidays and to be respectful to all Muslim holidays and to have that Muslim friends. And the diversity that when you are injected again to your childhood, that you are not judging anyone actually, because you are taking and you are respecting that everyone as it is, and no one is better than you.
I mean, I think it's obviously it's one thing for, children around the world to learn that to respect diversity and to respect the others and to appreciate the differences. But it's another thing to live it and to literally
to live it and to take it normal. It's not like that's so special. So you are born with it and it's the normal part of your life. So nobody is judging you for being that different from the others. On the contrary, so this to be different, it gives you that different skills that's from every perspective. And even when I decided in my family that to study mechanical engineering, today many people ask me that someone judged you. So it was very normal. Nobody asked me that, are you sure you are a woman, you want to study mechanical engineering? It's not atypical. So yes, I am. In that perspective, I'm really, really grateful that that I was giving that the possibility from the childhood that in a diverse culture, religions, different countries, Turkey, Israel, Austria. I went for 1 year to Boston. So to live with that different people all around the world.
Incredible. If you're transitioning now to sort of today with Israel and being a part of the Israeli ecosystem here, sort of how do you see your role in the ecosystem today?
Let me start what I'm doing there today. I'm partner at Catalyst Funds, and for me it was actually first of all, it was not my plan to join that VC or private equity from the get-go. So I was an engineer and jumped into the financial life a decade ago when I moved to Israel. I was doing a lot of M&As. And when I jumped from the M&As to the post-merger integration and to private equity who bought that Keter Group, so then I was suddenly on the buy side. From the sell side, I jumped to the buy side. And I really love that to be able that on that point to invest. And that was my decision point when I was doing the post-merger integration. Okay, so I need to join the VC. And luckily, so I joined the private equity / venture capital, actually, that is existing over 23 years. So we're 3 partners existing over 23 years, all of them together. And I joined as a 4th partner almost 4 years ago. And I am supporting the entrepreneurs. My only goal is that support them and bring them more success. It's all about the people at the end. So you want to add added value from every perspective, from the technical perspective, from the financial perspective, to bring them to financial institutions, preparing them to the exit, making that the possibilities on the technical perspective to open the R&D centers all over the world. So that's my passion. On the other side, which I love today, is that being in contact day by day with the investors, because to gain their trust and to understand them and to add added value, to be able to co-invest with them in the companies, in the sectors where they love, it is for me unmeasurable. So this is, I enjoy that every day doing that.
And if you look back at your mechanical engineering self, or the places, the things you've done throughout your life, it's quite of a different work. Do you have that same satisfaction? Is it the same satisfaction? Is it a different type of satisfaction between what you're doing now and what you did before?
100% is completely different. And also M&As are that different what I was doing before, but the investment in the VC ecosystem is combining everything. So it gives me still that the opportunity to bring my technical knowledge to the companies where I can bring, and there is a language in the automotive industry, or there's a language in the energy. It's not only the language that you speak German. It's not like that. It's how the tier ones are talking, or EMDs are talking that. And if I can give that added value, for me, it's great. I was working 4.5 years in one of the biggest agro company. It's called ADAMA, Magna. So today, one of my passion is that to add added value to the agro-tech companies and food tech companies. If I haven't learned that, if I wouldn't work there, and I wouldn't work that in 52 subsidiaries of the ADAMA, today I wouldn't be not in the position that to give such a big added value to the companies that we are investing in. And from the financial perspective is that all the M&As, the over 10 years doing the M&As in ADAMA, in Keter Group, and the post-merger integration. So that was the linkage actually between the company and with the financial institutions. And at the end, our goal is that to bring that the companies to scale up and to bring them to the exit. And this is where we can help them through the M&As, through the IPO. And yes, it's definitely a great added value, the background, what I've done, and I appreciate. I'm still learning every day. I think there is never an age that you can stop learning. But yes.
And so if we're sort of going 30,000 feet in the air, and there's so many different things that you've done throughout your career, so many different experiences, sort of, how do you see, what who you are, or what do you want to do? Right? I mean, it's a weird question, but what I'm getting at is, you've seen so many different parts of the world, so many different industries, so many different types of people and types of lifestyles. And if you're thinking today about what makes you happy, what makes you fulfilled intellectually, emotionally, family wise, sort of, how do you distill it down? What did you learn about yourself throughout these years of doing all these different experiences?
I will answer in two answers then. So when I was young, it was a big earthquake when I was in Istanbul, 1999. I will never forget, because it was like for the longest 45 seconds in your life. And when you go out from the building, you see that a lot of damaged buildings and many people died, unfortunately. And you see that you live that. And on that moment, you think that it's like in 45 seconds, all your life can change. And actually what is important to do that, because sometimes we are running so much in our life. We want to do everything, but 1 second actually can change everything and can collapse and can be. On that day, I promised myself that I want to be in a position in my life that as much I'm taking, I want to give it also. And for me, it's the very, very important. It's from the investment perspective where I'm sitting that today. Yes, I'm grateful that the investors are trusting and giving that millions of dollars that we can invest in and to make that the right decisions in the companies. And on the other side, we are supporting, we are helping the technical the ecosystem. We are creating jobs. We are making that the Israeli companies even bigger. And we are on that market situations. If our high-tech companies can hire that additional 100 people, I am thankful for that, because 100 people, it means that 400 of people, they have families and they have their children. And to be on the position that to be able to give is that the most important thing. And I hope I will continue that whatever I do in my life, that as much as I'm taking, I want to be able to give. And
Phenomenal.
actually, Israel has changed that a lot in me, because on that earthquake, Israeli rescue system rescue team came, and they saved one boy, 3-year-old boy. After 6 days, he was standing there in the earthquake, without food, without water, without anything. And for me, it
Wow.
was like, enormous when you live there and when you see that. You just want to be in a position that you want to be on the rescue team. You want to be able to help that to the people. You want to make the companies bigger and everything.
Lisya, it's fascinating and it's inspiring. I really appreciate your time and your energy. It's such a phenomenal story, and thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
And thank you for this inspiration. I loved it.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate it.
Of course.